Well, here we go, a proper paste fish. And I've just started fishing the line that I absolutely love, and that is the short pole with paste. I'm talking that 4 to 5 metre sort of zone. Look at him. Just on that inside slope. And it is like the most reliable place, in my opinion, to fish paste. And that is just an absolute typical glebe paste fish. Now, in part 2, we looked at fishing paste in deeper water, over 5 foot. We were fishing out there on the long pole. We caught plenty of fish doing it. But for me, paste is at its best in 4 foot of water and less. I just feel like the fishing is much better. The fish are there to feed. You miss less bites. The fish are a bit easier to control in terms of feeding. I just feel like this line, the sort of top kitten 1, top kitten 2, 4 foot and under, and then maybe the margins, which we'll cover in a different video. But that 4 foot and under is just the best place to catch on paste, in my opinion. So that's what we're going to look at in this one. Now I'm just going to quickly show you the rig, and then we'll have a look at the bait. Now the rig's a little bit different. When I'm fishing in 4 foot and less, I don't really like having any weight down the line. I like to almost like free line the bait, if that makes sense. I just feel like the fish take it with much more confidence. Obviously we used a bulk, a sliding Olivet on the long one, but that's just because we've got so much water out there, we had to have some stability. It's not so much of an issue in 4 foot of water and less. So at the top end, again, we'll start with a pot, lovely big pot, an even bigger pot this time. That allows me to fill it up with hemp. I love feeding hemp on this short line. Fill it with hemp, nice big piece of paste. Pink zip, 18 plus, again, it's the only elastic I use for this sort of fishing. And then I've got 0.20 exact straight through to the hook again. Nothing changes. The only thing different is the actual rig itself. So I've got 3 back shots just to keep everything nice and stable, and then I've got the 0.3 JC paste this time, so the lighter of the 2 JC paste floats. And then because I want to take some of the buoyancy out of the float, I have to have some shot down the line, but I don't like having it right underneath the float. I found if you put any shot underneath your float kind of gets heavy, and when you're shipping it out you get a few wrap over tangles. We don't really want that. So instead what I do, 3 number 9s spread about a couple of inches apart up to about a foot below the float, and I've found that when you're shipping out that creates a lovely little curve in your rig. It takes a bit of buoyancy out your float, but it also creates that little curve which prevents tangles when you're shipping out. And then below that I've got nothing at all down the line, and then just my size 10 hook. So really simple rig, but for me that little bit of shot there just helps the rig perform how I want it. We'll plumb that up in a sec just to show you. Now on the bait front, it's really simple. I love using hemp when I'm paste fishing. Don't like doing it out there in the deeper water, but when it comes to this short line I like to be really aggressive with hemp. It's caught me so many fish since I was a teenager anyway. It's just, for me, it's the ultimate sort of paste feed really. It keeps the fish on the bottom, it keeps them grubbing around. It is just super effective. I cook mine at home, and don't be frightened to bring a few pints of this stuff because you're going to need it. Now it's just bog standard hemp that, like I say, I've just cooked myself. And the paste, I've just got like a medium, that soft putty, just to start with. We can wet it down if we need to. Again, because we're fishing that free-lined paste almost, with no shot down the line, I can get away with a much softer bit of paste. I've got no shot interfering with my paste, so I can fish really wet if I have to. Basically, if you're missing bites, sometimes it means that your feeding's not quite right, but if you're missing bites, it can often be that your paste is too firm, and the wetter you can get it, the more confident the fish take it. So I'll fish it as wet as I possibly can. We've spoke about in part 1 how we mix the paste, and that is just the fatches and gluten paste mixed together. So I'll quickly put the plummet on and I'll show you how I plumbed it up. Okay, so that's the bait and the rig. And I mentioned about the depth that I like to find. So it's about 4 foot that I think is about the perfect depth for this sort of inside paste line. And I'm going to use a nice heavy plummet to find out exactly where that is. It's a 45 gram. When I'm using this pink zip elastic, I do think you need a nice positive plummet, and that one works perfect. So what I like to do, I like to make things easy for myself. I think this line is best early and late in your session. So the first hour you can always catch a few fish on paste short, and then your sort of last 2 hours, just before the edge kicks in, that sort of, I don't know, half 1 onwards is when this really comes into the fore. And some days when the fish aren't comfortable in the edge, this short line is where you can catch most of your fish. Now, I like to fish it, if I can, on a top kitten 1. I just feel like that tends to be where I can find the 4 foot of depth that I'm looking for. But it just makes rebaiting, controlling the fish, as in keeping them on the bottom, just makes the whole process a bit easier. Here today, if I go top kitten 2, it's about 5.5 foot. It's on the silt, that is, and it's just too deep to really maximise what we're trying to do. This is a positive approach. We're trying to catch a match-winning bag of fish now. We've used that long line to sort of tick over really, whereas this is where we're going to be more aggressive and try and get a big start and a big finish. So what I'm looking for, like I say, is that 4 foot of depth, and I'm trying to find a relatively flat spot if I can. Don't mind a little bit of a slope, but I don't want it. So as you can see, it's just a gradual, see that, with that big plummet I can really get a positive reading. There's no, look, it comes up a little bit, but on the whole, it's just a lovely gradual sort of flat little spot, that is. It's just perfect. It's like, I just got on ever so slightly to my right and it is absolutely perfect. And you can see my float is probably, I don't know, you can see about 1 inch of the stem. That's how I like it. I like to fish it, because I'm fishing such wet paste on this short line, I like to fish it just a little bit over depth, and it just allows the float not to interfere with the hook bait too much. So that's how we're going to plumb up. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to kick off the session, because like I say, when I'm fishing short, I like to be really aggressive with the bait for pace. You know, we're fishing a big target bait, we can afford to do it. It's not like when you're fishing with hard pellets, when you're trying to get them to pick out your hook bait. This, I'm creating a big bed of bait, and I'm going to put my big lump of paste over the top, so we can afford to be more aggressive. And this is where the old big pot comes in, plus the big pot on our pole. So all I'm going to do to kick it off is half a pot of hemp. I'm not going to put any samples of paste in or anything like that. I don't need to do that. We're going to, once we get fishing, there'll be some paste going through the swim, so it's not a problem. Half a pot of hemp. I'm going to accurately pot it in line with that far bank marker. I'm not going to feed by hand or anything like that. I like to do everything through the pot on this short line. But it's nice to get the old big pot out every now and again, especially when it comes to paste. And that is it. And like I say, it's all about the time of day with this. Straight away in the session, if you do that straight away on an overcast day, you'll get bites, and then sort of 1/2 onwards, you're going to get bites again. So we'll just let that settle for a minute, and then we'll hopefully catch you a few fish on this short pole line and show you how to hopefully not miss too many bites. Okay, so that hemp's been in the swim a few minutes now while I just poured myself a cup of tea and got myself sorted. Now, there's a few little bits of like details that will help you pace fishing. First is, even though I'm only fishing top kitten 1, I've got a roller just behind me. Now, if I can help it, every time if I miss a bite or I have to rebait for any reason, I don't like to break down if I can help it. The less breaking down you do, the less chance you're going to be of spilling your paste out the pot. So rolling nice and close behind me allows me to ship back in a wanna. I've got my bowl and ring. You have to have a bowl of water when you're paste fishing, and that is just nicely to hand, and it helps you put the paste on and helps you not get clotted up. You know, I'm a serial paste angler, but I'm never in a caked with paste because I've always got that bowl of water. Now, we've only just fed that hemp, so I don't need to put any more in, but typically I like to feed every single time I go in with this. Like I say, we're trying to build a big bag of fish at this time of day, and I'll often put in, we'll show you on the next chuck, but I'll often put in like a good sort of palmful of hemp in the pot first, and then put our hemp over paste hook bait on over the top. So we've just fed that though, so we don't need to do that. I'm just going to get a nice big piece. Now, I think it's really important to me to fish with a proper piece of paste on. I see people put tiny bits on, and there's a time and a place for that when you're fishing for F1s and stuff, but when you're fishing for big carp on a short pole with proper tackle on, give them something they want, a proper lump of paste. And you'll see there, what I talked about with them 3 number 9s, it's just helped create that little curve there in my rig, which will help, hopefully, prevent tangles. Just keeps that float that way. If you have it without that, it often like spins around and stuff. They just help create that curve and keep everything nice and tangle free. Same again, I like to put my float on the surface and ship it out nice and steady. Now I've got a far bank marker, and because we've plumbed up and found a nice flat spot, I don't want to be accurate, but I can just sort of pop it in right on that marker and be happy that my bait's going to be fishing. And now we've just got the tough part of hitting the bites. Look at that, indication straight away. Look at that. And that is just absolute paste 101. We've put that hemp in, we've potted that massive piece of paste in, and it's just gone straight under. But you'll notice when it came to reading the float while I was fishing, I wasn't in no rush to strike. It went down, I got a sharp pull, which I actually think is the bite, that sharp little dink. But because they take pace with such confidence, you don't need to be in a big rush to strike, because I firmly believe once they take it, once they eat it, it stays there, is what I'm trying to say. And it's sort of, I got a sharp jab, which I'm convinced is the fish taking the paste in, and then it's just sort of divvied around a bit, and then it's just gone under nice and positively. So the fish has probably been on a few seconds before the float has finally like sailed away. But because we're fishing paste, they don't let go. There we go. And that's a great start. Come straight to that hemp, and we've just absolutely nailed him straight away. And he's hooked right in the scissors. Great hook hold. Calm down. And that was a bit quicker than I was expecting. I was happy to show you that the float performed a little bit, so we'll have to catch another one, won't we, unfortunately. What a shame. Now I'm going to top up, because we've caught a fish. I like to try and feed every time I've caught a fish, or obviously I feed when I feel like the swim needs it, but I definitely like, if I've caught one, I definitely like to reset the trap again. So I'm going to put in, like I say, a good palmful of hemp, half of that pot full of hemp. Just works. Wet hand, put my paste on, and then we've got to look for that, see what bites we're going to get. Now, I'm just going to put that down there. And this is why fishing short is so effective, because you don't miss as many bites. You've got that 4 foot of depth, which is perfect. And naturally, less fish are coming in at that depth. If you go out any deeper, you get all kinds of nuisance fish and whatnot. Well, look at that. Whereas with this, you're kind of singling out the better fish. And it might be that we catch some bream and skimmers as well, but they're like good fish in this lake. You know, they're £2 plus fish, plus your carp. So it's you're fishing this close in, you're definitely like targeting the better fish. And don't worry about your keep nets and stuff, because that's gone under. There we go. That might be one of them bream that I mentioned. Yeah, it is. Don't worry about thinking, oh, I can't fish this in a match because I've got keep nets in. The fish aren't worried about your keep nets, trust me, on these venues, and they will happily feed close in. Nice bream, isn't he? Wouldn't mind catching one of them every chucking. Obviously they love paste as much as carp do. Love the old fish meal ground bait, and they seem to love the hemp here as well. But you get them in so fast, it's not a problem. I'm not gonna feed again, because I've got to imagine that hemp is still there after, you know, just catching a bream. So let's get out there. And this is just, I mean, we've just caught a bream and a carp in no time at all. Right, I'm hoping to show you like how I let the bite develop. See that little stab? What I think is so important is don't be in a rush to strike. You're going to miss bites, of course you are. It's the nature of the beast. But just learning what to strike at is the art of it, really. You're looking for that sharp stab, which is, I'm convinced, is when they first suck it in, and then you're looking for the bite to then develop. I think that if you look for that sharp stab and then leave it and then let it develop, I think that is your best route to success. And then as you get into it, you sort of get to know what to strike at. It's a bit, I mean, I've done this for years and years and years, so I kind of know what to strike at. But that doesn't mean I don't miss bites, just like everyone else. But I think the biggest lesson I've ever taught myself really is the patience on the bite like that. I was in no rush to strike, kind of let it all play out. I've had a bit of pole on for this one. I've had a lot of pole on for this one. Oh. Just sometimes they get a head of steam up in this venue and there's no stopping them. Of course, we've got 18 plus elastic on, we've got that 0.20 line. I wouldn't hesitate in fishing 0.23, to be fair. I don't mind using that at all. Especially now, you know, as we film this, it's end of May. The water's getting lovely and warm now. And when it comes to time of year for paste, paste will work all year, but I'm a firm believer that it is better after spawning. I firmly believe that that is when it's at its best. It will catch fish all year round, but I think it's at its best sort of June till about October time, and that's a cracker. Oh, he's a fish. Oh, this is going well, isn't it? Not missed the bite yet. But that's because we're doing, you know, everything right. That hemp, I'm convinced it keeps the fish down, it keeps them on the bottom. I mean, that's 2 carp and a bream. I'll catch one more just to talk you through that bite again. But it's not complicated fishing. We've done a few things well, you know, we've got our plumbing good, we're feeding it with the right bait. Like I say, I think hemp keeps them on the bottom. We've got the paste right that we mixed up in the other video. Everything's right, where we're fishing is right, so it makes the job so much easier. Like I say, don't be frightened to put plenty of hemp in. We've caught a lovely big carp there after feeding, so let's pop that in. Lovely big bit of paste. Straight on top. And essentially that becomes your big pot, because it puts such an amount of bait in every time. That becomes like your big cupping kit pot. So it speeds you up as well, because you're not having to keep getting the cupping kit out. Put that in there nice and quietly. Pick the brew up, and then let's see if we can hit another one. And that's just pulled me float under. Now I reckon where that fish is charged off, it might have moved me float. Now, even though my float's under the water, I can still see it. And I'll just, look at that, I could still see it. Wait. And I think, I often, my float is often not visible when I'm fishing. But, I don't know, I've kind of just learnt to sort of read it, I suppose. But look, I mean, look at that. This, I mean, how good is this? It's so effective. Anyone can do this, fishing top kit and one. It's comfy fishing. Now I must remember to put a bit more depth on. I reckon my float has just moved a little bit, so let's just put that there, and we'll try and go out with one final carp. But I mean, this is just epic fishing, isn't it? And hopefully it just shows you, like I say, this is, for me, when paste is at its best. When you can fish it close in the right depth of water, it's at its absolute best. And we haven't even gone in the margin yet, where I often catch some of my biggest weights in the edge. Oh. Hey! Flying bream to end on. Still, it's another one on that short line, and hopefully that's been a lovely little demonstration how to catch on paste on this short pole line. A bit of an old warrior, that one. But that is just, you know, a quick snapshot of how effective paste can be on that short line. Like I say, along with the margins, that is the best place to fish it in my opinion. Top kit and one, just close in, absolutely deadly. Now in part 4, I'm going to show you how we can use the paste with a slightly different rig in the margins to hopefully finish our day off on a real strong point. So join me in part 4 and we'll show you how to catch loads in the margins.